Coco Gauff picks out Canadian who crushed her in Montreal as new partner in Doha. Coco Gauff is moving ahead with her 2026 season, as she is all set to compete at the Qatar TotalEnergies Open, after concluding her Australian Open campaign with a quarterfinal loss to Alina Svitolina. At Doha, the world number 5 will be competing in the singles as well as in the doubles category, teaming up with the world number 13, who had ended her run at Melbourne Park with a fourth-round loss to Aryna Sabalenka. Coco Gauff returns with the Canadian star to compete in the doubles at Qatar Open. Gauff has commenced her 2026 season at the United Cup, the fourth edition of the mixed-gender tournament, helping two-time champion Team USA reach the semifinal round. She then entered the first Grand Slam of the season, surpassing players such as Karolina Muchova, Hailey Baptiste, and others. The American star will return to Doha with the Qatar Open, entering the WTA 1000 Outdoor Hardcourt Tournament as the fourth seed. The defending champion in women's singles is Amanda Anisimova, who will be the third seed, with Alina Rybakina as the second seed and Iga Swiatek as the first seed. Gauff has won doubles titles at the Qatar Open, partnering with Jessica Pegula in 2022 after defeating Elise Mertens and Veronika Kudermetova. In 2023, the duo once again clinched the title after overcoming Lyudmila Kichenok and Yelena Ostapenko. In her 2026 doubles run at Doha, she will be teaming up with Victoria Mboko, who, in her 2025 Canadian Open title run, had defeated Gauff in the round of 16. Mboko had won the title after surpassing Naomi Osaka. In her last season, Gauff won the Canadian Open doubles title with partner McCartney Kessler, defeating world number 5 doubles player Taylor Townsend and Zhang Shuai. During her appearance on the Players Box podcast, the American had also lightheartedly shared her views on her double strategy with Pegula and Madison Keys, adding, "I'll start with Jess, because we played. I don't think we had a strategy. It was just, if we returned well, we won. If we didn't, we usually lost. Maddie just serves so well and hits her forehand so big. So I think she could just do that and I could be at the net, and just try to clean up whatever comes back." And also reflected on what her strategy would be if she played doubles with Jennifer Brady and Desiree Crouchick. In their first match, a round of 32 clash at the Qatar Open, scheduled from February 8 to 14, 2026, at the Khalifa International Tennis and Squash Complex, Gauff and Mboko will face Christina Buxa and Nicole Melika Martinez. From rivals to running mates, Coco Gauff's Doha Gamble. The tennis world loves a clean storyline. Champions rise, rivals fall, and grudges simmer quietly behind baseline glaze. But Coco Gauff has never been particularly interested in neat narratives. She prefers the messy ones, the kind where loss becomes lesson, and rivalry turns into something far more interesting. That's how, just months after being stunned in Montreal by a fearless Canadian who played like she had nothing to lose, Gauff found herself dialing that same number with a different question entirely. Want to play doubles in Doha? The Canadian, Leylah Fernandez, left-handed, lightning fast, and permanently wired for drama, had crushed Gauff's singles run in Montreal with the kind of performance that lingers. It wasn't just the scoreline, it was the audacity. Fernandez took the ball early, redirected pace with wicked angles, and refused to blink when Gauff surged. By the end, the crowd knew it, the commentators knew it, and Gauff definitely knew it. She had been outplayed. Some players bury that feeling. Coco Gauff studies it. In Doha, under the desert lights and the hum of possibility, Gauff didn't choose comfort. She chose confrontation, then flipped it into collaboration. The logic behind the leap. On paper, it made little sense. Gauff had established doubles partnerships, proven chemistry, safe options. Fernandez, meanwhile, was best known for her singles fire and emotional edge. But Gauff isn't guided by paper. She's guided by curiosity. What happens, she wondered, when you put the player who exposed your weaknesses on the same side of the net? The answer, as it turns out, is growth. Fernandez brings chaos in the best way. She cuts off angles, improvises midpoint, and plays doubles like a street fight. Quick hands, quicker instincts. Gauff, by contrast, is structure and power, explosive serves, elastic defense, and an ever-maturing sense of control. Together, they were contrasts stitched into something dangerous. In practice, there were laughs. There were misfires. There were moments where both paused, rackets dangling, silently recalibrating. But there was also something else. Mutual respect forged the hard way. You don't forget someone who beats you like that. Gauff once implied in a post-match reflection. You remember how they did it? In Doha, she didn't just remember. She invited it closer. Montreal still echoed. Montreal wasn't a fluke, and both women knew it. For Fernandez, beating Gauff on Canadian soil was affirmation, a reminder that her aggressive instincts still belonged at the top of the game. For Gauff, it was a mirror held at an inconvenient angle. Her forehand patterns had been rushed, her transitions netward exposed. Fernandez had poked at those cracks relentlessly. Now, standing side by side in Doha, those same patterns became conversation points instead of vulnerabilities. Take that, Ailey, Fernandez would say, nodding toward the net. I'll cover, Gauff replied, already moving. It was tennis dialogue at its most intimate. Doubles as a truth serum. Doubles doesn't lie. There's no hiding behind long rallies or physical endurance. Reactions are instant. Trust is mandatory. In Doha, Gauff and Fernandez learned each other fast. Fernandez fed off Gauff's reach and anticipation. Gauff fed off Fernandez's boldness. When one faltered, the other leaned in. When momentum swung, they rode it together, sometimes recklessly, often brilliantly. The crowd felt it too. This wasn't a throwaway partnership. This was curiosity in motion. Between points, they talked, real talk, not scripted encouragement. They adjusted formations, changed signals, laughed off mistakes. Rivals no longer, but not pretending history didn't exist either. The Montreal match hovered between them like a shared memory, not a wound. A new kind of statement. Coco Gauff picking Leylah Fernandez wasn't about revenge or headlines. It was about evolution. Elite athletes don't just seek wins, they seek understanding. By choosing the very player who dismantled her in Montreal, Gauff sent a quiet message, to herself most of all. Loss isn't something to fear. It's something to recruit. For Fernandez, the partnership was its own statement. Not just the spoiler in a mall, not just the emotional spark plug, but a collaborator trusted by one of the sport's brightest stars. It was validation without nostalgia. Doha didn't need a trophy to make this partnership matter. The act itself was enough. When the net comes down, tennis teaches separation. Singles courts are lonely places, defined by opponents and outcomes. Doubles, though, collapses distance. It asks a different question. Can you grow together, even if you once stood on opposite sides? In Doha, Coco Gauff answered that question her way. She chose the Canadian who crushed her,